Early contests build momentum for 2024 contenders seeking the White House. C-SPAN offers unfiltered coverage of events leading into early primaries and caucuses. Get access to speeches and results with the free app, C-SPAN Now, or watch live on the C-SPAN networks.
Hey everybody, it's Rob Benedict.
And Richard Spate Jr.
And we are back.
We're back, Robbie. It's 2023, man.
2023. Happy New Year to everybody.
Haven't seen you since last year, Robbie. Gosh, it's been since last year. I haven't even seen you.
Like 3-4 days ago.
Whatever. The point is, it was last year.
It's season 3.
I don't envy season 3 because season 2 was so freaking good.
Yeah.
The last season I'd want to be right now is season 3, trying to follow up season 2.
Yeah, I was, we're talking about episode 1, and I was already angry for the first 15 minutes because, like, well, you're not season 2.
Don't even dress. Oh, I see you're wearing season 2's outfit. Clever. I see right through your act, season 3.
So, Happy New Year, everyone. Hope you had a fun holiday, and let's get into what this episode was about. It's an evening in Oak Park, Illinois, which is an area, a Chicago suburb I know well.
Your hometown.
That's right. Walter Rosen is taking out the trash when dark
Wait,
clouds...
it's not your hometown, though.
Not at all. Never.
No,
never.
how come when I said your hometown, he said, that's right. Because it's not your hometown.
Because I just yes-anded you.
I don't want you to yell. I don't want you to mislead people.
I'm not from Oak Park, Illinois, but I know it well because I went to
Wow,
college.
way to kill the illusion. We had them going that you were from Oak Park, and now you just squashed that one. Jeez.
I'm sure everybody's crushed, harsh-broken. Well, good night, everybody.
It's all the time we have.
Walter Rosen is taking out the trash when dark clouds start to form in the sky.
When you say taking out the trash, you mean like cleaning up the town?
Yeah,
like,
taking out the trash.
Too much crime in this
Taking out the riffraff.
Yeah.
A black cloud streams into his body, as the demons do, and possesses him.
Oh, wow, bummer.
Meanwhile, Dean is enjoying some personal time with a young lady while Sam is studying Faustian deals to see if there's a way to save his brother. Bobby calls and reports that there's been a locust swarm and a crop failure in Nebraska.
Oh, man.
First sign that he's found of demon activity since the Devil's Gate was opened back in Wyoming.
Yeah, let's not forget that at the end of season 2, they opened the Devil's Gate.
Yeah, they opened the Devil's Gate. Dean's got a year to live, and that's where we're at.
Right.
Bobby and the brothers meet up at a farmhouse where a family seems to have starved to death sitting on the couch, but with a kitchen stocked with food.
Great blues band, by the way, out of Oak Park, Bobby and the Brothers. That's outstanding, just rock solid, gonna dance all night, get your beer on, you know what I mean?
Well, they really put Oak Park on the map.
Your hometown.
My hometown. The three start to search the house. Suddenly, Dean is jumped by someone. They come to understand this is Isaac, a fellow hunter. He's in the house with his wife, Tamara, who is also a hunter. Back at the couple's home, the hunters compare notes about demon activity since the Devil's Gate opened. Isaac and Tamara have no interest in working with the Winchesters. They blame the boys for opening the gate and releasing all the demons.
Yeah, they throw a lot of stink on the boys.
Yeah, I mean, they're not wrong.
A lot of shade.
Sam, Dean, and Bobby head to the shoe store to investigate a woman's death. They look at the surveillance tapes and see that Walter Rosen interacted with the woman soon before she died. Sam starts to get the sense he's being followed by a strange woman. Bobby uses a picture of Walter Rosen to track him down to a bar. Isaac and Tamara enter the bar and quickly find Walter. Now, Isaac is about to use holy water on Walter when they are quickly detected. The eyes of all the bar patrons turn black. The bar is full of demons. Isaac is handed a container of drain cleaner and under mind control is forced to drink it.
No.
He collapses in a convulsion as the chemicals eat his organs.
Wait a minute. It's mind control? I thought he was doing it to save his wife.
No. They were like, you're going to drink this. And he's like, oh.
Man.
Yeah. Suddenly a car bursts through the bar door. And guess who it is? Bobby's car. Sam, Dean, and Bobby fight the demons. They're able to escape with Tamara and take Demon Walter captive in the trunk with a devil's trap. Back at the house, Bobby figures out they're dealing with the 7 deadly sins, demons identified in Binsfield's classification of demons. While interrogating Demon Walter, they figure out that he's possessed by envy, who taunts the hunters. Tamara exorcises envy, killing Walter in the process. R.I.P. Walter. The 6 other demons soon converge on the house. One of the demons has possessed Isaac's body and is taunting Tamara. She stabs it in the heart with a stake, killing it, but accidentally breaking the salt line and letting the other demons in the house. It's a big demons versus hunter fight. In the melee, Sam is attacked, and the mysterious woman who's been following him suddenly appears and kills the attacking demon with a special knife, and then leaves. The hunters overcome the demons, Bobby spends the night doing exorcisms. Tamara leaves. Bobby leaves too and tells everyone to be on the lookout for omens. Sam tries to convince Dean to head up to Louisiana to see a hoodoo priestess to try and help break Dean's curse.
Hoodoo?
Oh, no. Not the hoodoo thing again. I do.
If he were to find like some fecal droppings of this priestess, would it be hoodoo doo-doo?
Doo-doo.
What if the fecal droppings had gone to the barbershop and gotten a coif done? Would it be hoodoo doo-doo hairdo?
Hoodoo doo-doo-doo.
But what if it was a new hairdo? Would it be hoodoo doo-doo new-doo?
Dean explains it can't be broken, otherwise Sam dies. The brothers argue about being selfish. Dean says he feels great and just wants to spend his last year having fun and killing evil. Wow, big episode. I didn't realize how big it was until I read the big summary.
No kidding. Oh, yeah, it was good.
Yeah, there's a lot being set up here. I mean, I don't love that Dean's got a year to live. I don't love that part of it.
No, but that's baked into the sauce, kind of.
But man, he's really taking advantage of it.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I thought the episode was really good. I thought it started a little silly, given where we came from in season 2.
Yep.
I thought sort of like Sam reading a book while Dean's sort of in the window giving him the thumbs up while he's, it felt sort of dated in that sort of like, any girl will do.
No, I know. Definitely. It did feel dated. But it sets up this new character, new interesting other demon character who's maybe going to help Sam, the woman.
Oh, yeah. No, there's definitely some cool things. The Katie Cassidy character. Yeah, there's definitely some cool elements in here. The couple, the Isaac and Tamara, were super cool characters.
They're great.
And the fact that their whole scene was conflict based. When their character intro, their intro to the show was great. Like knocking Dean out, and then that upside down shot that Kim Manners did was like unbelievably cool. It was just
really cool shot.
Such a cool shot. Yeah, hinging around that and then holding those shots and then Dean's hand just coming in going, guys, little help down here and bleeding was so funny.
Rich, and you're more behind the scenes than I am as a director. I can't help but feel at the beginning of each season that we're watching studio notes. They're going, all right, this season, let's play into the comedy with Dean a little more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe.
I'd like to see a little more sex going on. I want to see, you know what I mean? It's like CW circa 2007, 2008. But anyway, I'm seeing those notes at play here. Like, okay, well, that's a little different.
Yeah, you might be right. But I will say that the shooting of all that was phenomenal, right? Because that's Kim Manners who do it. And then when the conflict scene where Isaac's basically saying, we're not going with you guys because you guys you started this whole mess and we're not teaming up with you is so well shot too. It's this really quirky shot of Jared really close in frame and Bobby deep in frame, and they kept throwing focus between the two of them. It was really stylistically awesome, and again, pure Kim Manners,
Yeah, and I like a lot of Bobby, getting a lot more Bobby.
Yeah.
And I love that we've created this world where there are other hunters that can come in and out.
Yeah.
And the relationship between hunters is often antagonistic. You know what I mean? It's almost like a zombie world where it's like you're just looking out for your own and everyone else is an enemy. Yeah. And all the other hunters are badasses. These two were no different.
But the guy who played Walter was really, really good.
Yeah.
His whole monologue, sitting in the chair, giving them the business. I thought he was really good.
Yeah. And on top of everything, we get the 7 deadly sins. It's always fun to have that in there.
Really cool sequence with Katie Cassidy stabbing him. Really cool sequence with Dean taking that one girl's face into the tub with the cross in it.
Oh, yeah.
And burning her in the holy water. That was such a cool shot. Again, Kim Manners has directed the daylights out of this thing.
Yeah, he was on fire. So it's fun. Honestly, I liked it more talking about it right now.
Yeah. Same in a weird way. And it just went such cool places. I just thought it had a bit of a stutter start would be the one thing.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, please.
Well, I was going to say, I think the stutter start is what keeps me from giving it a completely full beard. I think, we've had so many full beards in season 2. I just don't think this is that for me. It's really good, but not perfect.
I'm going to agree with that. So let's do it since the holidays just happened, and whether or not you celebrate Christmas or not, definitely you see a lot of Santa's face around. Let's give it a beard rating in the world of Santa beards.
Okay.
I know was it a drunk Santa at a bad mall? Was it?
That would be a big unruly beard. So no, I think my beard would be, it's Santa. Okay, if you're Santa related, it's Santa who knows that Christmas is almost over and has to go to a different job interview after this, and so it's a little trimmer than your full on ho ho ho. It's the middle of the Santa season.
Right.
Thing. It's right. Mrs. Claus has already given him grief about putting on too much weight. He's already renewed the gym membership. He's like, okay, the second I drop these gifts off, right to the treadmill. So,
right.
He's just going to clean up that kind of thing of like, wake up in the mirror, wake up in the mirror, wake up in the morning, see himself in the mirror and realize I got to tighten the ropes here. And he just trims it down a notch. So I'm going to go with like a well-groomed Santa. It's not a full ho, ho, ho Santa. Right. It's a ho, ho Santa. I get a two-ho Santa.
Okay. I'm gonna have a similar thing, but from a different point of view, which is it's Santa in November, realizing he has a month and he's got to grow this out.
Oh.
So he's got it, he's got like a half beard and he's got 1 month to grow it back out. And Miss Claus is like, I told you not to cut it in September. And he's like, don't give me gruff, Mrs. Claus.
Dude, I mean, how, not to get in the middle of their marriage, but how is that helpful? Because his hair, you're talking about beard growth, and she's chiming in with this negative Nancy, I told you so nonsense. Not going to help anybody. We're a month out, sweetie. And it's a PR nightmare for me if I go out with a trim beard. How do we solve this? Not how do you make my life miserable? That's what I say to Mrs. Claus.
And he's like, not now, Martha.
She gets 11 months of the year.
I know.
Give the man December. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's already stressful enough. You got make presents for all the world, and you got 1 month to do it. So so it's a November beard. It's a November beard for Santa.
It's a thanks for nothing, Mrs. Claus, November beard. So we got a two-ho beard and a thanks for nothing, Mrs. Claus, November beard. Great, awesome.
Well, for this episode, we have a real treat. We have 2 interviews.
Wait, Dos interviews? Wow, we're doubling up the interviews.
First up, we have Peter Macon. Such a treat. We have Peter Macon is here. He played Isaac. You can also see him on the Orville, where he played Lieutenant Commander Bortus since the launch of the series. He's had numerous guest appearances on TV shows such as The Shield, Dexter, Bosch, Law & Order, and Shameless. Please welcome Peter Macon. Hey, Peter.
You're raising the roof. I love it.
Yeah, right. That dates me. Yeah.
Luckily, we're all the same date, so that's okay. Nice to have you on here, buddy. I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's nice to chat. God, was it like I want to say it was like 3 years ago. I did a convention in Iowa, I think it was. And I forget the name of the con, but like they had the, what was it? Is the Impala?
Yeah, the Impala.
Had the Impala there.
Yeah, the Impala.
So crazy, man. This person literally drives his car around the country to these conventions and people take pictures of it. So that was like my last sort of experience with Supernatural. But yeah, I mean, and they were being like, Isaac. I was just like, this is crazy. Like, back when I had hair.
Yeah.
That's
how you chart time.
Yeah. I mean, I was fighting a good fight, but I look back at the pictures, I'm like, man, time to let it go. Time to let it go. Your hairline is like back behind your ears. Anyway.
Here's a question. So you talk about Supernatural and that experience being long ago. So when you did the show, had you ever heard of Supernatural? Were you familiar with it?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of heard it, but it was like sort of it was not what I was watching, because people would describe it as like the Dukes of Hazzard meets Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I'm like, okay. I watched the Dukes when I was little. But Buffy, I wasn't a big fan of that. But I hadn't seen any of the episodes.
Yeah.
So I just watched the first 2 seasons, like over a period of like 2 days, and was just like, oh man, I get it. I love it. And I can't wait to get started.
Yeah.
And it was my episode was directed by the late, great Kim Manners.
Right.
And he's like one of the most enthusiastic directors I've ever worked with. Because instead of saying action, he'd be like, all right, now, kick it in the ass now. Let's go. It was amazing.
Right.
So it was impossible to not come up with it, because he was just so, he was just so enthusiastic and such a nice guy. You know what I mean? But I mean, I could tell he had lived probably a lot of bar fights.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was great. I hadn't heard of the show. and certainly had no idea that, what is it, 15 seasons that they did? 16 seasons
15.
or something?
Yeah,
And,
15.
I had no idea what I was stepping into in terms of like the sort of cult, like zeitgeist of the show. I mean, and so when it pops up, when I'm just sort of scrolling through the TV, I always tune in and see what the boys are up to. But Jensen and Jarrett, they were so great. We were up in Vancouver, and that was the first time I had been up to Vancouver, and they were just like the kings of the town, man. They took me out, and we went out like for dinner and like clubs and whatever, and it was just like, I was like, these guys are like mega stars, you know what I mean? And I had no idea. So, but it was a good time. I remember it vividly.
Did you know Caroline, who played your wife before?
I did not. I met her, and she's doing really well these days. So we kind of kept in touch for a little bit. But yeah, we had a blast.
Yeah, great chemistry.
I felt like I was cheating on my wife. Just going out to lunch with her. Because it was just so like, we just had so much fun, and she was just such a good spirit.
Well, that translated on screen, which is, when you're coming in to do a guest spot and people have to get to know you immediately because it's a quick arc. I thought you guys did a great job, and Kim really set you guys up for success. The way he shot your intro, and I mean, it may be one of my favorite intros. And so, full disclosure, Rob and I are seeing this episode for the first time, though we've been involved in the show forever. We're watching a lot of this mostly for the first time. And dude, your intro with Dean and like the comedy element of it was so great. Dude, just the hand coming in the frame going, a little help, bloody down here. Like all those elements, and the Bobby reunion you guys had right there over his body on the ground was so fun and funny. Immediately we got to like you guys, That
was the first time I'd ever held, I think, like a single pump shotgun. Right, like, and it had some weight to it. And I was just like, "Well, this thing is just gonna put it." I was, over my shoulder. And so all of the stuff, like all the elements, just kind of like just made it work. I didn't really have to do much, because it was all very new.
Right.
And then like all those weird, they weren't zombie people, but they were like, like nasty human beings. We'd be sitting at the lunch table, and I'm like, "You guys are weird." It was gross. I couldn't be around them. You know what I mean? So awful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Awkward lunch.
Awkward lunch. I'll just go back to my trailer and eat my lunch here because I'm going to throw up in my mouth.
The dead people kind of are a bit of a turnoff when you're trying to enjoy.
The contact lenses, and it was just so much fun. I mean, that was kind of like one of my first, I don't know, it wasn't my first, but it was like the first time I'd ever done any sort of, magical realism, super, like, like zombie stuff. It was like with the contacts and the makeup and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Little did I know that it would, take me to space. But I mean, it was just all so fun, and like shooting at night with all the fog and like all the demons, and, it was a playground. It was just a total.
That's awesome.
Really creepy sets. Really, really creepy sets. Like,
especially in this episode.
Yeah, and I don't really around with that stuff too tough because I know that it's like, the spirits are there, and I had like some little talisman or something that I just carried in my pocket because I'm just like, I don't play with that. You know what I mean?
That's interesting. So there's a part of you that kind of believes in that. You don't want to mess 100%. With that.
I've had a hex put on me when I lived in Africa. I had like a ghost or spirit, I should say, living in my house in New Haven, Connecticut, which is one of the most haunted places in America.
Wow.
By the way. So yeah, I've experienced, like I'm shooting a movie in Australia right now, and I'm actually home in Atlanta right now, but like after the holidays I got to go back to Sydney, and just like a few weeks ago there was totally felt like there was a spirit in my room, and and it just was bugging me, and so I'm really porous when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I was a bit leery about playing with that subject matter, but it made it that much more real, and the stakes were, real for me. And I was just like, let me just be careful how I trod.
That's interesting.
Hollywoody, but like I come from the theater. I've been in a Macbeth to play like 7 times.
Yeah, that always freaks me out.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't play when it comes to that. People saying Macbeth in the theater, I'm like, dude, you're messing with stuff that is beyond you, that's older than you. Why mess around? Why you know what I mean? Why taunt this? So I'm porous. I'm spiritually very like porous in terms of that stuff.
Listen, so, I think we should expound on that a little bit because a lot of our audience may not be theater people. So explain the Macbeth lore, if you will.
Well, it's a play that deals with witchcraft and the supernatural and ambition and things that are dark. It deals with a lot of dark subject matter in the human psyche. And there's and because the play is 400 something years old, takes place in 1150 Scotland, where supernatural elements and spirituality and all that stuff is very present, and witchcraft, quote unquote, is very present. And so there's a lot of superstitions that have come along with the journey of that play being done, and it's deemed really bad luck to say Macbeth inside the theater. So people refer to it as the Scottish play, right? And there have been there's evidence of countless productions going tits up, when
people falling off ladders or.
Yeah, and lights falling down on people having a heart attack on the stage. It's a play that deals with like that dark other element, and people really believe, and myself really believe, that like the spirits are, that are really paying attention to all that stuff. And so you kind of have to set like a precedent. Like the last time I did it, like this director, we sort of ritualized the space and cleansed the space, and gave homage to like the spirits that that exist, and not to be intrusive. I mean, it's just a really sort of respectful engagement with. So when we're so to keep us safe, because there was one time we were doing a fight and we had this big, we're using these tungsten broadswords that sparked and stuff like that, but they're very brittle. And the guy who was playing Macduff, he hit my sword, and we're fighting, and I'm like, why am I not connecting? I look down and I have half a sword, and the sword had shot up stage and launched itself into the scene, into the set. Now, if that thing had gone the other way, if it had gone downstage toward the audience, someone would have died.
Right.
I mean,
Oh
so
my
it's
God.
like that kind of,
Yeah.
I just think that you have to be really respectful.
Yeah.
Of dealing with that. So
yeah, I get nervous saying the name of that play any time, whether because I'm like,
you do.
You could technically do a play in my house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
I know this is a theater. Technically,
this is gonna be a theater. Yeah.
But I'm aware.
Yeah.
So I don't take the piss out of it. But like, I mean, and I also like when people, they're like, I don't believe this, and then I'll say it. I'm just like, I literally, I smacked this guy in the back of the head.
Yeah.
And demand that they go outside the theater, turn around 3 times, and spit. Just to, because you can't, like, what do we know? You know what I mean? And again, like going back to Supernatural, I mean, the show's riddled and just dealing with that whole other realm of stuff that is not here. So, and like these things don't exist out of just the imagination. I think that like these stories and like these plot lines and like these spells and all these things, they come from things that are much older than we are in this society.
Yeah.
And it comes from a time when people, that's all they had. You know what I mean? Like the written word and, and so, and belief systems and, religion and things like that. So I just think that it's important to be cognizant and respectful of why things are the way they are, like in terms of where things have come from, like the lore. I think it's just unwise to just flit about and not really have a cognizance or an understanding that this stuff is rooted in a particular reality from a time when people that was people's spiritual systems and stuff like that, and so
that's a good point. No, it's a good point, and it is the engine that drives this show.
And I gotta say, having done so much Shakespeare and classical theater, that really sets you up to really nail a sequence in which you drink Drano, because it has that sort of like Shakespearean poison thyself moment.
It really does have that, even though it's like Gatorade and Jello. You know what I mean?
Is that what it was? Was it Gatorade and Jello?
It was not fun. But I mean, it was fun, but it was like, okay, we have to do this again. Okay.
I have to tell you, that was painful to watch. It was painful to watch.
It was coming out of my nose.
Oh, dude.
It was like being waterboarded with Jello.
Oh, God. Well, there's the quote for the episode. It's like being waterboarded with Jello.
And that's miserable. Like that's actually worse than water, I think, because it's just, I mean, I don't have much experience with being waterboarded, but I'm just saying, like, I just think that it would be, it would be a lot. It would be pretty tough.
It takes the pain and stress of being waterboarded and mixes it with the worst thing in the cafeteria, and then boom.
Yeah, exactly.
You actually have two great death scenes in this. One by Drano and one by Steak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the few characters that gets to die twice
in the same episode.
in the same episode within 15 minutes or something like that. So
Yeah.
it was horrible because Carolyn had to kill me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. That's
Fall down and and then the stake goes through. But yeah, I mean, it was just, and it was, it was, again, like when we were filming in that bar, walk into a demon bar, like if I'm watching this, I'm like, dude, turn around, leave.
That's what I said when I was watching. Bad idea, I said.
Bad idea. You know what I mean? And then, like in Shakespeare, like people who die usually in Shakespeare earn their death. You know what I mean? Like they either kill someone or they do something really horrible, and they was like, you got to die. And so like my mistake, Isaac's mistake, was like the hubris, not realizing, like when you open the door, don't even go in. You see what it is. Well, I mean, not much to his chagrin. Like he didn't really realize where he was until it was too late, until the door shut behind him. But yeah, you kind of earn your death. Like, and I mean, I think that's really great writing too, because it really comes like on the last eighth of the episode. You're like, I mean, it's going and it's going and it's going. And you're like, how's this going to resolve? And then it just resolves so very quickly.
Yeah.
And it was really great with all the background players and like everyone, like we all had a good time. And then and they're like, okay, you're going to die by Drano. Like, everyone was like, I was like, how's this going to happen? This is, so everyone had a good time watching me squirm on the ground.
Sure.
And they were supposed to be demons in the bar. They were supposed to be reveling in the fact that like this demon hunter is just gonna get waterboarded with this Drano, and it was funny. So they all got to just let loose and laugh, and I think that made for great shots of like them cutting to like the background players,
right?
Really read, because they weren't like, oh, like rutabaga. They were like really busting the gut.
I'm really glad they weren't doing the previous. That would have changed the tone of the scene a lot.
Oh man, that's the show I want to see.
Well,
no, but yeah, like
you should follow Rob on YouTube.
Oh man.
So here's a question for you: when you're doing that scene, do they all have the black contacts in?
Yeah,
because that's got to add to the creep factor, right? A bunch of actors staring at you with the black eyes.
100%. But those things were so uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like just like these big black plastic things in your eyes, and you can't see.
Now they just do it digitally. They don't even.
Yeah, I know. This is back in the day,
old school.
Yeah.
So that helped because it was like really uncomfortable and slightly painful. And I felt bad for them because they had to have those things in on like all day.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that, like my death scene was a night shoot. So like all night they had those things. And so I didn't dare complain about the few, like the little times that they would be someone would come and take mine out, like, I mean, I always feel a little bit weird, like on the food chain, like when you're doing a guest star, or like you're like, principal, like on a show, and like the way that, you get treated as opposed to like the background gets treated.
Sure. Right.
I remember being that background character a lot.
Sure.
But you got to put the dues, this is what it is. But yeah, those contacts were terrible. But it really helped, like the tears of, like your transition of I'm still slightly human, but I'm transitioning to a demon, or vice versa. It just really helped, like sometimes physical stuff, like costumes and makeup and stuff like that, really help open up like emotional channels. And it was really, really freaky. Like everyone like with black eyes looking at you. I'm getting goosebumps now because I remember what that feeling is like. And that's why I don't watch horror movies, man, because that stuff is in my dreams all the time. So I don't. But yeah, I mean, I'm just, what a thing, what and I didn't know, like, and I don't know if anyone knew at the time, because it was only season 3 that that it would just go on and on and on.
Yeah, I mean, who could predict? So, I think that show was on the bubble several years thereafter, so I don't think anybody it was never a guarantee, until.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder what the life of it is now. I mean, I don't really, again, I'm not really up on it.
Well, I mean, Rob and I were just at a convention in Nashville with 1,500 seats filled, for the show. It still has its because it's interestingly a lot of people discovered it during. It was already discovered by a whole slew of fans, and then lockdown, a whole younger generation watched the whole thing. So then
on Netflix,
they put it on Netflix. Now I wonder if they do a movie.
Well, they have a prequel going on right now where that Jensen's producing called The Winchesters. And the movie, I have no idea. That may be a conversation that's ongoing, but it wouldn't surprise me. And so you mentioned, by the way, that you've done conventions, obviously, for the Orville and probably some of your other work. And you mentioned sort of somebody bringing up this character. Is that happen frequently? I mean, are you often asked or?
Every time. Yeah. And people ask me questions I'm like, yeah, that was 18 years ago. So I'm just like, I don't really remember. But yeah, and people bring up photographs, stills from the show, and yeah, that's how I knew. I'm like, damn, this thing is huge.
Mm-hmm.
I'm there for a show that's on TV right now, and they're wanting autographs for that, which I'm honored, but I just I was like, wow, this is I did but yeah, that happens like
Yeah.
almost time I do a convention, like someone comes and they have like some Isaac, photograph, or like some will carry around like a big giant picture of the Impala. And people like they do these festivals, professionally, and they have like all these signatures, and they're trying to collect signatures from every episode. Which is, like, amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I signed something this last weekend that was filled with characters from the show, and I had a hard time finding space. You know what I mean? Where should I go? Down by the front tire of the Impala. There,
signing a grain of rice. Well, here's a question: did you? I know you worked on Orville, and you worked with Adrienne Palicki. Did you guys ever discuss? Because she was. I mean, you call her an original gangster. There, she's in the pilot.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever talk about that?
I mean, we talked about like my experience doing the show and her experience doing the show, and it was like, I was like, what? And I was like, because when I walked on the set, the first day of the Orville, like, I mean, obviously from Friday Night Lights, but then I was like, I know you from something else because I didn't watch Friday Night Lights. And then we got to talking, and I was like, wait, Supernatural? Oh yeah, that was you. Oh yeah, because and so we had a bond about that, and we were buds. She and I like were really pretty close. Yeah, no, that was cool to have that in common.
That's cool.
And it kind of brought us together because like a lot of our stuff, our characters on the Orville, we had like we had a nice arc together. So like it did away with like the initial jitters or the awkwardness of like getting to know you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we had that in common, which was cool. I'm like, damn, who hasn't been on the show? It's like the Law and Order of
it really is
my shows.
Yeah, that's what we're finding watching the series now for the first time. You're like, oh my god, just seeing all these actors that have guest starred on this show.
Well,
yeah. You go back, you're like, oh, look at that person's on the show.
Yeah.
And not only American actors, you talk about Canadian actors. I mean, I think they used everybody in that town twice.
Yeah,
man. Because they ran through them.
Yeah,
like when you do shoot in Canada, you have to have like a certain amount of Canadian actors. If it's an American production,
sure.
You have to have, a certain percentage of Canadian actors attached to the. So yeah, I mean, they dug deep.
Yeah, but fortunately, Vancouver turned out a lot of phenomenal performers. I mean, it's deep well of talent up there, which is fortunate because if not, it'd be a challenge.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's fun for that reason to shoot up there, like because you just see, I run into people working on different projects when I'm up there. I'm like that I hadn't seen for years. I'm like, oh, of course you're here. You're up in Vancouver. Like Chad Coleman, who played Clyden on the Orville, I think he's up there shooting like a Superman TV show, or he's playing a villain, like sort of like up there. And they all put you at the Sutton place. We call it the Slutton place. Like all kind of most people are just staying in this hotel, so you get on an elevator, and there's like like Eamon Walker or who knows?
Just get on. The lobby's a who's who.
Yeah. So it's fun for that.
Yeah. Well, Peter, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us. It's nice to meet you and to get in touch with you. And you were great. You were great in this episode, and you really made quite an impression. And it's great to have you on.
Well, thank you. And if I can so shamelessly put a thing out there,
please.
For the new The Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is what I'm shooting in Australia, and that'll be out probably 2024 because it's all like mocap and phocap and but yeah, like it's it'll be amazing. So
I guarantee you I will be there front and center. I love those movies.
Me too.
I love them.
I know, it's gonna be cool, and it's directed by Wes Ball, who directed The Maze Runners, and I mean, it's just a lot of fun. So anyway,
excellent.
It's just nice to have these chats because especially about work from so long ago, and it's just nice to like have like the span of like just to put it all in the same hopper of all the stuff that's going on. So you might see traces of Isaac in my character.
Oh, great. That's exciting.
Thank you for being here, and congratulations on Planet of the Apes. I can't wait to watch that. And again,
Thanks,
just
guys.
another example of incredibly strong talent gracing the screen of Supernatural, which is what made the show so great and so long living. So we appreciate you being a part of this conversation. We'll be right back. Hey, this is Richard Spate. You know what? It's 2024. It's a brand new year, and I bet you made some New Year's resolutions, and I bet one of them was to eat healthier. Well, you can get cranking on that resolution right now, my friend, with Factor. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, the prep work, the cooking fatigue. I'm getting tired just talking about it. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including options like keto, calorie smart, vegan, and veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you will have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart this resolution off right. Forget frantic lunch prep and rush dinner making. That stinks. Factor's 2-minute meals, yes, I said 2 minutes, are your secret weapon in the new year. You get to fuel up fast with restaurant-quality meals all delivered right to your door. It doesn't get any easier than that. And Factor now offers loads of snack options like breakfast, smoothies, juices, snacks, and more to keep you going no matter what's on the schedule. So I know what you're asking, Rich, how do I tap into this Factor magic? You head to factormeals.com/SPNTAN50 and use code SPNTAN50 to get 50% off. That's a lot off. That's code SPNTAN50 at factormeals.com/SPNTAN50 for 50% off. Make that resolution happen now and make it happen at a discount. Fantastic food that's healthy and delicious and delivered right to my door. Now that is how you start the new year off right.
Early nominating contests build momentum for 2024 contenders seeking the White House. C-SPAN is the place for political campaign enthusiasts, with unfiltered coverage surrounding the early primaries and caucuses, as well as speeches from key battleground states. Whether you're interested in your state's race or want to follow all of the political events, you can get immediate access to what the candidates are saying, plus nominating results in real time with the free mobile app, C-SPAN Now, or watch live on the C-SPAN networks.
Thanks for listening. Now, back to the episode.
And now for our second interview. We have the distinct pleasure of talking with Josh Daugherty. Josh has been featured as a guest on a number of television series, including CSI, Charmed, 911, Grey's Anatomy, Mr. Mercedes, and The Last Days of Ptolemy Gray. Please welcome Josh Daugherty. Hey, Josh.
Nice crowd sign.
Crazy.
Went nuts, literally.
Who?
No, so people need to know that, like, when they hear this interview, half this interview was recorded before we introduced the man because we started talking immediately about Oregon and whatnot. But just to circle back to where we were, you were talking about, so I had leapt to the conclusion that you lived in Los Angeles. You do not. Tell us about your origin story in Georgia there.
So grew up in Eugene, Oregon, did a lot of community theater, and at one point thought I might want to get into opera.
Wow, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, I know. Well, and then I realized, I just don't want to work that hard. And then discovered jazz and remain a huge jazz fan to this day, and thought, maybe I'll do jazz. But then I was like, no, I like nice things and I like to have money. So I'm not jazz. But then moved to LA in January of 98, did a little over 20 years in Los Angeles, and moved to Georgia in June of 18, where we live now, and never saw that coming until it was like, I guess we're moving to Georgia. I just never would have guessed that I would live in the South. Because
what series of events led to it?
Part of it was my look changing. and going from the late 20-something Taco Bell guy to now, I'm a middle-aged white dude. Okay. There's not a million of me around, are there? Right. And, after 20 years in LA, and LA is my second home, I love LA. I absolutely love LA. I've still got family in LA. I wanted to just try something different. I wanted to explore something different. I wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to do something that was a little scary. And so we picked up and moved to a new location and planned a wedding and bought a house and started a business and took on as many stressful things as humanly possible. It's been wonderful. And
is your wife Southern at all? Is there any connection there?
No. That's the funny thing is she grew up in the military, but her parents are both one's from Portland and one's from Ashland. Oh, wow. So she has Oregon roots as well.
Cool.
Which was part of the groove that we hit when we met. It was like, Oregon, yeah, right. So yeah, our Oregon roots run real deep, and we value them. We're such West Coast kids. Yeah.
Well, that's a nice segue back into your acting career because you are really, really good in your episode of Supernatural.
What do you remember about the audition process for this
walk us through
specific
that
episode?
The audition process. I remember giving myself permission to be as gross as I could be, because in the interrogation scene is where you really get to see Envy's disgusting nature come out. And, being a hippie, Christian, Zen, Buddhist, Stoic, whatever you want to call me, it's all, I try to live my life doing the right thing,
right?
Doing the right thing for everybody.
Right.
So I get to do things in acting that I would never do in real life, which is so much fun. And so I got to make him kind of gross. And I remember giving myself permission to do that and feeling really good about it and going, oh, that was a fun audition. Oh man, that felt really good. Okay, well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And then when I got it, I was like, oh boy, this is going to be a good time.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, what I loved about what you did is I love the choice at the beginning when you take the trash out. I love the choice that this is a different guy than the guy that gets possessed. You're kind of a nerdy guy. You compare your car to your neighbor's car. It goes by quick, but I'm like, oh, well, I really clocked that you're, playing that guy, not quite comfortable in your skin, perhaps. Then the demon comes in your mouth and boom, then you change.
Yeah, that's cool. That was really cool.
Taking out the trash, was that the first thing you shot? I know I'm asking you questions that are...
Rob and I can't remember what we had for breakfast. So,
yeah.
I'm right there with you. So I'm like, God, we shot that in, I think, 8. I don't remember when we shot that.
That was like 2008.
Was it 2008? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, that was 14 years ago. Am I doing my math right?
Yeah. No, it was a long time ago.
Woo!
Actually, it was 2007. The episode aired in 2007.
Okay, that makes sense.
So you may not remember, and that's okay.
Yeah, I don't remember specifically, but I do have some great memories of working the show, and I'm sure we'll get to it.
Well, let's talk about that. So, what stood out to you as, because again, you're so critical throughout the whole show. What stood out to you as one of the more positive moments?
I really felt good in the interrogation scene. It's kind of the biggest scene for my character in the show, and it's a great kind of. It's mostly a monologue. Certainly Jensen and Jared and Jim and Caroline, we all engage at one time or another. But Kim Manners, who directed that episode, may he rest in peace. What a beautiful man he was. He called break at one point, and Jensen pulled me aside and he was like, dude, you are killing this. And I'm like, oh, really? And he's like, oh, bro, we're having so much fun watching you. And I was like, oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I know the stress of being a guest star. You're definitely a guest in somebody else's house. It's nice when the hosts like what you're doing.
Yeah, and everybody on that show was just totally without ego. They were just so welcoming and so kind and so encouraging, and it was just everybody on that show was just great. It was a really cool family, and the guys were awesome.
Had you heard of the show before doing it?
Yeah, I certainly had, because it was one of those shows that was like, oh, here's these two fucking handsome guys. I hate them, you know. And then I get to work with them, and I'm like, oh, and they're cool to boot.
I know, right?
Now I really hate them. But I had worked on it, and I always kind of thought, I'm not as tall as those guys. I'm not as handsome as those guys. So who knows if I'll ever get on that show? But I did, and we had a ball. The first day, I do remember this. The first day I shot something, I walked into the makeup trailer, and Jared was on one side and Jensen was on the other side, and they were kind of talking back and forth, and they sat me in between them, and I'm like, oh, hey fellas. And one of them said, hey, it was one of their birthdays, and like, you want some scotch? And I was like, 10 o'clock in the morning, I'd love some scotch. So we start pouring scotch in the makeup trailer, and I was like, thank you, this is quite a fine welcome.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That tracks.
Yeah, that tracks for sure. Now, when you're the demon and you've got the black pupils, were those contacts?
Yeah.
I think you're one of the first guys we've talked to who've worn those.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, because it became later on when I was directing the show, there was now visual effect. They would do visual effects on them, so it wasn't the actual contact part, and they look so cool. I mean, cinematically, it looks amazing. Yeah. But do they suck? Like, what's it like wearing them?
Yeah, they felt like they were the size of a bottle cap.
Yeah.
You shove this thing into your eyeball, and they didn't shove them. They were incredibly, everybody took wonderful care of me, but it's weird when you're not used to having this thing in your head, and you got two of them. It was odd. I enjoyed it because it was a kind of a singular experience, and that's something I'm not likely to do again, but it was definitely weird. Yeah, it was.
How was it walking around? I mean, like, did it impede visibility?
Oh yeah. It kind of looked like at the end of a Looney Tunes cartoon, you know, when the black kind of does that.
Right, moving your head all around. Yeah, I've had to do that a couple of times. It is. It's a weird experience,
right?
For sure. Yeah. It's hard to keep your eyes like open and normal looking. You know, the whole time you're kind of like. Yeah, well, that's cool that you got to not only be on the show, but play a demon, wear the contacts, go all in.
Well, that monologue is sort of just a hang your hat on it thing. I mean, which
you nailed, by the way, which you were great in. You did fantastic work.
You also don't know when you're watching this episode. So Rob and I were watching this stuff for the first time, and watching that episode. At no point when I see you looking at the garbage can and it's rattling and all this, do I think that you're going to be doing just like plot hinging monologue in the middle of the, like I thought you were going to be the, killed early or something, like,
right. That's what we assume. Whoever's in the first scene usually doesn't make it through the episode.
Right.
And so they have you down, and there's a couple of cool beats for you, even in the bar when it's the 7 deadly sins versus everybody else. That's a dope fight sequence.
We had so much fun with that sequence. I got to tell you, man. Oh my God. It was like a ballet. It was so much fun to shoot.
Cool.
A well choreographed fight sequence is just a thing of beauty.
Yeah.
And we had so much fun with that.
Oh, that's great.
Was that a day? Was that like its own day to do all of that bar stuff? It felt big to me.
Yeah, it was big. There were a lot of moving parts. And of course, crashing the car into the side of the bar. And you're throwing holy water on everybody and throwing punches. And then, all right, Josh, we've got to throw you into the trunk of this car. And I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound fun. And then we got to make sure that when we slam this thing, it doesn't cut off a finger or a toe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was that like?
I watching that sequence, because that's an awkward thing, right? To like Dean, the character's got to get you in the trunk of the car, which means Jensen, the actor, has got to get you, Josh, the actor, to go in there in a way that makes sense to the story.
Yeah.
And that's an awkward assignment. It looked great. I mean, it looked like it was part of the fight. It was organic. It did, you run the risk of doing that thing of like, I tripped and fell into the perfect spot. Like you guys avoided that trap. And I mean, I guess Kim Manners and Lou Bolo get a lot of credit for pulling that off, but you guys did a good job of selling it, of selling the organic nature of that exchange really well.
Well, I think we were having so much fun together that it just became a natural part of us just having fun together. And, I have to say, like, Kim, I will always value the time that I spent with Kim, because it's funny how many times I mention Kim in my classes that I teach in Atlanta, because he always used to go, all right, pump it up, and he would just get everybody's energy going in action. And like, you can't go into the scene without getting pumped up, because here's this dude who's 5'6". How big? He wasn't
not a big guy.
Not a big guy. You know what I loved about Kim too is, being a kid from got some country background. Kim would say, all right, set up the shot. I'll be right back. And he'd walk over and he'd pull a dip out and put it in his lip.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Big fat dip in his lip with his mullet. He always had a mullet.
Yeah.
And I remember going, who the f is this guy? I'm like, oh, he's the EP. Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was such a beautiful storyteller and was so great to work with. I'll never forget working with Kim. And He was a really wonderful, wonderful guy.
It's funny. He gets that review. And I know that, we remember the highlights in someone's passing, but nonetheless, he gets just rave reviews from everybody who worked with him. Because he was also like, cutting edge TV director. He was doing streaming caliber directing on network caliber shows. You know what I mean? Back in the day, before there was such a thing.
Right. I actually remember him setting up the shot of my interrogation. And when you notice, it kind of starts on me and the camera comes around and Jim lands, Jared lands, Jensen lands, or Caroline Chikisi lands. And it was just this beautiful, just the way he set up the shot was effortless and cinematic, and it was gorgeous. The way they lit that scene was beautiful.
Am I nuts? But I felt like that very shot you're talking about, and it's either, maybe it's that shot or a different one, but there was one where, I'm pretty sure it's this, where we come across you to Jensen, and Jensen then leaves, and the camera keeps going around, and then Jensen has gone off screen to grab a weapon, and then Jensen comes back in and continues motivating the camera move around the circle. And we're thinking, that is dope. Like that, you know what I mean? Like everything makes sense. I don't care where he went. Now I know where he went because now he's got whatever he needed. We didn't have to see it.
Yeah.
And it kept motivating the camera move. It was such a elegant way of executing that sequence.
It's a great word for it. Elegant is a great word for it. Yeah. Yeah.
Dope is another good word for it.
Fly works.
I'm a big fan of rad.
Rad tells a story. And then did you get to, I mean, obviously your heavy lifting was with Jared and Jensen and Jim Beaver. Did you get to hang with the other demons at all? Like the Seven Deadly Sins? You had a day in the bar with them?
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. I ended up hanging out a lot with Peter Macon.
We had the pleasure of speaking to him before you.
What's funny is like I saw him online. I was like, "Hey man, where are you at these days?" He's like, "Oh, I'm in Atlanta." I'm like, "What?"
Oh my gosh! So you guys have met up in Georgia?
Well, we're going to. Yeah. What's interesting? He's got a great Oregon connection. He went to the Oregon Shakespeare Festival and played Othello for like 5 years.
Oh, amazing!
Oh my God!
I mean, that guy. When it comes to acting, that guy is just he is a pro. He is so.
Yeah, he told us he did a lot of regional theater and has traveled around a lot. And I thought, wow, I wonder. I used to do that as well, and I wondered if we knew some of the same people, but there was no time to ask. But yeah, he seems like he's seen it. He's weathered it. He's played some of the greatest roles ever written, and that's
without
really cool.
a doubt. He is the consummate working actor. He's well trained. He's well traveled. He's a brilliant individual in spite of his acting or regardless of his acting. He's just an incredibly, he just challenges me on so many levels.
Yeah. He's like a real intelligent and I don't know, experienced guy, not just in work, but just in spirit life.
Yeah.
And Oregon Shakespeare, for those listening, is in Ashland, Oregon, and it's probably known as one of the best regional theaters in the country.
It's world renowned for Shakespeare,
and has some of the best actors. Some of the best actors I've ever worked with have been in regional theater performances. The world may not know their names, but they're playing some of the most challenging and best roles ever written. Really terrific. Well, that's cool.
I love it. So I feel like we're bringing people together now. You two are going to hang out.
Yeah, I know, right? The Oregon connection.
You're going to be sitting together on the podcast and then together in life.
Yeah, I'm in. Sounds great.
Well, Josh, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. And
thank you for including me, guys. This is Supernatural was one of those experiences that I really, really value. Everybody on crew, the writing staff, working with the guys. It was 11 days of working with really beautiful people and with a great show, and a show that, I hear a lot of people say, oh, I'm really proud of this, that, and the other. And yes, I'm proud of the work, but I'm really more grateful to have been a part of it, because it was just such a cool show. So thank you for bringing me in on this. This has been a lot of fun.
Well, thank you for being a part of it. You did a great job in the episode, and it's a standout.
Terrific work.
Thanks, you guys.
Have a great holiday.
Best of luck.
You bet. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hey there, this is Jensen. I hope you're enjoying the episode, but we need to pull over for a second for some messages, and I got to take a leak. Thanks for supporting Supernatural then and now. And now, back to the show.
Well, that was great, Rich. What two fantastic guys, very similar in a way, two like classic actor guys.
Yeah, classic actor is a good way to describe it. They're both like trained theater guys, and working together. That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Yeah, really glad we had the opportunity to do that. And I honestly, I feel like both of them were the kind of guys that we would actually hang out with.
Yeah, really, and just both of them are so good in the episode. It's again, Kim Manners bringing together great talent to make a great episode. It's just awesome.
Yeah.
And an Oregon fella who lives in Atlanta.
I know. You and he have that in common as well.
Exactly. Both our interviews were of gentlemen living in Georgia. What does that tell you?
What does that tell you?
No wonder it's a state turning purple.
But now, I hate to interrupt you, but now it's time for mythology. So, Peter Binseld's classification of demons. Peter Binsfeld was a German bishop and theologian who lived in the late 1500s and was considered a prominent witch hunter during his time.
Huh.
There have been a few demon classifications written by members of the Catholic leadership. Others include...
Marvelous History? That's the name of a book of demon classifications?
Yeah, Marvelous History. They really bragged about it going in.
Weird.
The Treatment of Solomon is another one.
That'd be the Testament of Solomon, but yes.
Testament of Solomon. But you know what? I wrote one called The Treatment of Solomon because I didn't appreciate the way they really ran him to the coals. And then a title that I love to say every morning when I wake up, Cornelius Agrippa's De Occulta Philosophia from 1533.
Cornelius Agrippa's De Occulta Philosophia from 1533. Much better than the one that came out 2 years later of 1535.
Also, people don't know this, but Cornelius Agrippa wrote another book called Of the Confessions of a Warlocks and the Witches. Oh, my bad.
Peter Binsfeld also wrote another book called
Of the Confessions of Warlocks and Witches.
Now, I know you think, could that be his accent? He was German? Yes, he lived in the Little Italy neighborhood in Germany. In German.
In German. Yeah, so that was it. Peter Binsfeld, very prolific for his time. And hey, just, for a witch hunter, he was also a great author.
Which witch hunter?
Rich.
Fun facts.
You're so
The title comes from the 1960 Western The Magnificent Seven, featuring Steve McQueen and Yul Brynner.
Do for the audience, you're spot on, Yul Brynner. Nobody does Yul Brynner like Rob Benedict. Ladies and gentlemen, Rob Benedict as Yul Brynner.
My name is Yul Brynner.
And scene. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I know most of you probably have a working knowledge of Yul Brynner's voice. Most of you, at least if you're under 25, you've got a good sense of Yul Brynner. That's spot on.
Yeah.
And I don't have to tell you that.
Yeah.
Well done, Robbie.
Yeah, thank you.
The line, fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son, is obviously from Animal House. It's a famous line from the 1978 comedy National Lampoon's Animal House, said by Dean Wormer, played by John, what's-his-face, to John Belushi, who played Bluto.
That's right. And I just want the audience at home to know a fun fact of that fun fact. Richard Speight was not reading that. He just knew it from memory. He was a big fan.
Yeah, I did.
Big fan of the movie.
I saw them. As soon as that line came out, there were several lines in this episode that were from movies. They were like they quoted. There were 3 that I counted. They were pulling from other films.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What are the other ones?
Well, I didn't keep notes,
Okay.
and there you are. I actually might just look them up at some point, and I'll talk about them next time because that was one of them.
Well,
There's
he also mentions 7 and says, "What's in the box?"
right. Okay. Yep.
Right.
That's 7.
Yeah,
That's right.
That was good.
This one I didn't recognize. Polling the electorate, and usually I would pick out a Simpsons reference.
Oh,
but
yeah.
right now it says the polling the electorate is a line. Polling the electorate is a line from The Simpsons, where local cops joke that when Mayor Quimby is polling the electorate, he's actually meeting with an attractive young woman for a motel room encounter, which was what
That's funny.
Dean was doing at the top of the show.
And then Envy says the line, "I am Legion, for we are many." And Rich knew this, but I had to look it up. This is a line from the New Testament, the book of Mark,
Right.
chapter 5, verse 9.
You naively thought it was from Luke,
Right.
which is embarrassing,
That's
but
true.
I set you straight.
Thank you.
Did you know that the shoes the woman who was influenced by envy kills for are green? And green is the color most associated with envy. She was green with envy.
Interesting. Does that come from Shakespeare?
Oh, the green with envy part? I don't know.
Interesting. Those certainly were fun facts.
Hold on, there's one more piece of that little fun facts. John Vernon played Dean Wormer
Got
in
it.
Animal House.
Got it.
So that was a line delivered by John Vernon playing Dean Wormer.
Who was Dean, literally the dean of the school. Not his name wasn't Dean. He was the dean.
No, he's the dean of the
school.
university that the boys were attending in Animal House.
But I think
And
there's
he
a
was
link
talking
there
to
too.
John Belushi.
There's a link there too that he was a dean. He was a
dean. That he was a dean.
Right.
Yeah, good one.
Well, that was a fun podcast. I'm happy that we're ripping into to season 3 with guns a-blazing.
Yeah, man. My guns were a-blazing.
Super fun as always. It's good to be back.
Oh, it's good to be back. I hope you guys all had a great holiday, a great break. Got some good family time, man. Hopefully, maybe some good friend time, or maybe some good alone time. Whatever kind of time you wanted, I hope you got it. And it's great to be back with you, Bobo, and producer Steve to tackle season 3.
That's
of
right.
Supernatural.
That's right. And you both are looking great and trim, and you look very, very 2023 to me right now.
Well, let's wrap this nonsense up, shall we?
This episode of Supernatural features Jared Padalecki as Sam Winchester and Jensen Ackles as Dean Winchester.
Guest stars include Katie Cassidy, Jim Beaver, Caroline Chikisi, Peter Macon, Josh Daugherty, C. Ernest Harth, Michael Rogers, Katya Verschilis, Ben Cotton, Gardner Millar, and Tiara Sorensen. Lord have mercy.
So glad that wasn't me. The Magnificent Seven was written by the lovely Eric Kripke and directed by legendary Kim Manners.
Edited by Anthony Pinker. Music by Christopher Leonards.
Executive produced by Eric Kripke and Robert Singer.
The original broadcast of this episode featured the following songs. Hells Bells by AC/DC.
You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet by Bachman Turner Overdrive.
I Shall Not Be Moved by J.B. Burnett.
And Mean Little Town by Howling Diablos.
This episode originally aired on October 4th, 2007.
This episode of Supernatural Then and Now was hosted and executive produced by Richard Speight Jr. and Rob Benedict.
Produced by Stephen Hine. Written by Stephen Hine and Haida Holscher.
And edited and associate produced by Trey Boudet.
That's it, buddy!
Music provided by Tim Wynn.
The episode was recorded with the help of Sonic Fuel Studios.
This podcast is from Story Mill Media.
Follow the podcast on Instagram and Twitter, won't you, at SPN Then and Now.
And become a member of the podcast at patreon.com/SPN Then and Now.
You forgot the www.
Well, I feel like that people know.
Probably right.
There have been a few demon classifications written by members of the Catholic leadership.
I'm stuck on the idea that like he was a prominent witch hunter during his time. Were there a bunch of like low rent witch hunters running around and he was like top dog? Like, you know,
He was top dog when it came to witch hunters.
what if they couldn't be specifically pointed out by anybody and people were confused and they go, wait, which witch hunter? And then what if they had done financially well for themselves and they're like, wait, which rich witch hunter? And then one of the guys named Rich was witch. And so like, wait,
What if they ate at the fast food restaurant Which? Then then our heads would explode.
Go ahead. You got to do it.
And they'd be the witch hunter ate at Which? Rich.
Did you say the eyes of all the bald patrons? Only the dudes with receding hairlines are
Few people know this, but only demons are bald. Suddenly, a car bursts through the bar door. Guess who it is? It's Baby. And inside Baby, Sam, Dean, and Bobby. And they get out of...
It's not Baby, buddy. It's Bobby's car. Just so you know, that whole run is making it into the podcast. There's no way. I need people to know that you don't know the difference between Baby and a different car, any other car.
Happy New Year.
Same to you.
Same to you.
Story Mill Media.